Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're just going to wait a few more minutes while people filter in, and then we'll get started. Hi there. Welcome, everyone, to the presentation of the IMI Next Wave Global Growth Wave 2. My name is Vanessa Topazer. I am a Senior Vice President at IMI International. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you to everyone who has come back for more. And it's really nice to see some new names in the crowd as well for this session. So for those where IMI is a new name, just a little bit about us for some context. We are a global independent strategic marketing insights consultancy with the core purpose of insight driving profit. Our focus is to work hand in hand with our clients to uncover the insight needed to make really strong decisions that ultimately drive your ROI. We are focused on pragmatic decisions, and we always provide relevant context. We never just show you the data. We partner with about 150 clients on an annual basis around the world across multiple industries and multiple brand life cycles, either on one singular need or every step of the way in the discovery process and the marketing process from initial discovery through confirmation of direction and then continuous optimization. Some of the sources for today's insight are through IMI's new innovation through our Pulse suite of tools, as well as IMI 24, from which where we can uncover relevant and fast custom insight into who to focus on, how to connect, where to be, and what to say through a robust database that is refreshed on a bi-monthly basis, measuring consumer behavior, attitudes, and emotions across 1,200 passion points, 400 brands, 275 categories, 6 demographic profiles, and 18 countries. And we complement this data by asking singular questions through IMI 24. So for today, Don Mayo, IMI's Global Managing Partner, is going to take us through 4 key sections, well, 3 key sections really. The first is today's reality and global. So we'll have the update on the impact of war, inflation, and gas prices on people, their personal, financial, and mental health and well-being, how everyone is feeling. We're going to look at the next 180 to 365 days. What are people really looking forward to? And what are they going to delay because of everything that's going on? We're going to dive into the return to live and activations and understand what's appropriate and what's inappropriate right now. And then we're going to talk about growing your brand and how people have responded to brands that are activating right now through some case studies that we've uncovered. The insight from today is from over 75,000 interviews with consumers 13 plus across 35 countries from March, right basically up until this morning. If you have any questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. And this presentation will be in your inbox latest Monday. So without further ado, let me introduce Don Mayo. Hi, Don. I am my Global Managing Partner. Take it away, Don.
How are you? Excited about today? Haven't seen you in a while. Haven't seen the people that are in the webinar for a while. I guess it's been almost 2 years. Anyway, a lot has changed since last time I talked about this. with inflation, with gas prices, well, obviously Ukraine and COVID is still haunting us. But we'll go through this. What I'm excited about today is we're doing a big focus on how to grow the brand. What's good, what's bad, how to work, best practices from today and going forward. So let's start off. What are people very concerned about? So we looked at 6 things. Unaided, we went in and looked at what people were talking about, and then we aided the list and said, okay, what percent of the population is very concerned about physical health, financial health, mental health, war in Ukraine, environment and climate change, becoming infected with COVID-19? As well, we gave the option of, I'm not concerned about any of these. So we want to go through, we'll ask you some questions so you can participate as you go. So 35 countries, we looked at this. What are you very concerned about this time, if any of these? So what we have here is present very concerned with the following issues across 35 countries. The highs of the countries, here's the highest we saw. 65% Nigeria concerned about financial health. Obviously Poland right next to Ukraine, 62% very concerned about Ukraine or the war in the Ukraine. Physical health, Kenya, 41%. Mental health, South Africa, 36%. Climate change, New Zealand, 33%. They just had major, obvious flooding and stuff like that. And infection, 33%, Malaysia. You can tell by that number, that's the highest across the world. That number for COVID used to be in the 70% range. So we see across the globe, it's dropped significantly, not surprising. If we look at the lows, you can see Switzerland twice, not many concerns there. You got Pakistan about the war in the Ukraine's the lowest, Portugal, physical health, mental health, Sweden's the lowest. You can see there's a great difference between which country you're in. And for brands and agencies, which country you market to will have different causes and concerns. The difference in variance between it is between 17 and 51%. So they're massive changes. The other thing you should look at is most of the people on the line right now are from the US, Canada, the UK, or Australia, and we don't appear anywhere, highs and lows. So we're somewhere in the middle in each of those cases. So we'll go through some questions. First question we've got for you. This is US, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia, aggregated globally to see what's happening. So 43% are very concerned about which one of these 4. So in your own mind, which one do you think 43% of people in US, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia are very concerned about? The war in the Ukraine, becoming infected with COVID-19, no concern for any of these, you and your family's mental health. The answer is 43% have no concern of any of these. And one thing we have to do is stop focusing on the negative and start having that glass half full. So let's go and attack in a positive way. Engage people that have no concern, whether you're in a store with food sampling, whether you're at a live event, whether you're in the travel industry. Let's not focus on who's not going to be there. Let's focus and engage those people that are there. So 43% of people across the countries have no concern. And you can see it's equal. 10,000 miles away, it's the same as Canada. So across the board, US, Canada, UK, Australia, let's call it 40%. They have no concern for any of these things. We're talking some big issues here. So that's the first thing is take away, let's focus on the positive, the cup 40% full, not 60% empty. So if we go next, which has the lowest percent very concerned? The war in the Ukraine, becoming infected with COVID-19, or you and your family's mental health? Which one do you think has the lowest concern? It's becoming infected with COVID-19. So still 1 in 6 people are very concerned about it. But again, remember 70% before. And what you have to consider there is COVID's here. It's part of it. It's an endemic now. The fact is we have to live with it and move on and stop great activations or thought process or innovations by being overly concerned about infecting people with COVID-19. Obviously, we have to be respectful and use common sense, and we can't be irresponsible, but we need to move on and move on now, even during this very turbulent time with the war in Ukraine, inflation, gas prices, stock market, and a bunch of other factors. We talk about the war in Ukraine. It's everywhere. It's devastating. It's heinous. You can see what's going on. So we look at some things about the fact in March of 2022, 38% were very concerned with the war in the Ukraine, again, across US, Canada, Australia, and the UK. So today, 2 months later, after all this news, every second, everywhere, every conversation, it's there. Do you think our concern is the same at 38%? It's significantly increased to 50% or significantly decreased to 26%? And the reality is it's dropped to 26%. So with all the news, every second, every day, there's been a significant drop in concern as the war intensifies. The reality is that people desensitize to any issue over time that don't impact them weekly. And this is just the reality. This is not only to the war. This was to George Floyd, which we'll show you in a second. This is to every single situation out there as people become desensitized. And we'll show why that matters to brands. Here's what's happened in the last 2 months. War in the Ukraine is down 12%. Every other factor is plus or minus 3%. So very little change there, but the most significant issue will drop off and come to a sea of sameness, no matter what happens. And this is just human nature. And it's been the same way for 20 plus years. It's probably been the same way for hundreds of years. So key learning for brands: if being in the press, media, and social every second of every day with heinous images and horrendous testimonials cannot maintain an audience, what do you have to do as a brand to keep your brand relevant? And keep relevant to your customers, your category's best customers, and your competitors' best customers. Because being always on will not do that. Just consider the fact that owning the media at every touch point, 24 hours a day, does not guarantee success, but does guarantee suboptimal ROI. And we're here to talk about that. The reality is being always on is not crucial. Being always relevant and findable is super crucial. Being always compelling is super crucial. And being better than competition is absolutely essential to drive incremental purchasing. So what we look at is, this is Google Trends worldwide. And we have the Ukraine in blue, we have COVID in red, and you can see the drop here. We have Apple, and we also put Amazon in there just to show the constants. And you can see Ukraine, the intensity lasts for about 6 weeks. This is worldwide. A major war event only lasted for 6 weeks. Canada and the US match exactly the same as worldwide. So the fact is, we are a global economy. For your brand, how do you keep people's attention over 6 weeks? That is a crucial question I would ask the agency, the media agency. The fact is, if this can't keep people's attention for 6 weeks, why are we running campaigns for 12 weeks, 14 weeks? Why do we listen to Google and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok to always be on? You don't want to always be on, you always want to be relevant to drive ROI. I'm not trying to lessen the impact of the Ukrainian war, but I'm trying to make it relevant to what's going on. We got 43% not concerned about anything, and we have the fact that there's an opportunity out there to actually talk to people. The war in the Ukraine is 2022. George Floyd's murder was in 2020. You can see the exact same thing. The red line down here is Black Lives Matter. The fact is, no matter what the occurrence, they last for about 6 to 8 weeks. The reason we did not do the last seminar or webinar that was 6 to 8 weeks ago, because we were at the height of the war in Ukraine. People's minds were focused on that. So anything we did there would not be constructive for long-term planning. We knew it, unfortunately, it would wane, but the fact is that's the reality of people's mindsets. Not only in Canada, not only US, Australia, it's worldwide. This is how people work. So key learning for brands. Major global brands have a microburst for 5 to 8 weeks. It's a major global event. Identify once again the attention span lapses after this point. Consider how much money your brand spends or agency recommends spending on campaigns that last longer than 6 weeks. It's usually 20% plus, some are longer than that. The fact is that money is probably wasted. 90% of the time it's wasted because there's no incremental benefit. And we do longitudinal tracking. This is not just flippant comments. This is thousands of studies, billions of dollars of spend we've looked at. Reality is, for 20 years, our ROI market spend effectiveness shows less than 5% incremental benefit on campaigns that run longer than 6 to 8 weeks or have 2 burst periods where some reason they want to lapse in between. They want to do a pulse, lapse, and pulse. That's not the way to drive maximum ROI. And if we're wrong, we're happy to have conversations. And I would challenge every media company and every agency to understand why they recommend this and what the proof points are that this actually drives incremental impact, because it hasn't any time before in history. And again, there's always an exception. What's the one thing people are most concerned about? So they only had one choice. And this is an aided list generated from Global Assessment. And the fact is, the #1 issue, US and Canada, is definitely inflation and rising prices. UK less so at this time, and Australia at 18%. And they always wane. And we have 2 offices there. They're an island, and they actually, it's a different situation. But if we look across the board, we got inflation at 40%. Climate change, across the board, 15%. War in Ukraine, 15%. Mental health, 15%. Rising interest rates 8%, so that's not cut off yet because we've just seen the first increase. And race and gender equality 5 to 6%. Does not mean that race and gender equality is not super important. What we're looking at is what's top of mind. So from a brand agency perspective, rising prices of everything has to be on the mind. That doesn't mean to go price discount, but understand people will be looking for price and value. This will push people, as we saw before in 2007-8, to secondary brands or non-major brands. Not everyone. People love brands. And the other thing you have to remember is you're in an affluent category. Affluent people remain affluent. Not as affluent, but they can still do things. It's really the people that are marginalized that are going to have the biggest impact on this. So what are they delayed doing due to the war in the Ukraine? And not surprisingly, travel out of the country. That's the major thing we look at right now. So it's about 30%. Take a vacation in the 20s, travel to see friends, family, 10%. The point is travel is going to have the biggest impact. What happened with the impact on travel is going to be the same thing that happened near COVID, like rec products are going to go way up, staycations, staying near home. But as the intensity of the war hopefully subsides, and who knows what's going to happen there, but if it subsides, the fact is we're going to return quicker to a new normal. But let's focus on the positive. If we look at travel to see a sporting event or concert, it's down in the 20% range. They might not go out, but the picture on the right-hand side is Maple Leaf Square last night in Toronto, where Tampa Bay played Toronto. They have no concern whatsoever. There's 5,000 people shoulder to shoulder, not masked, no concern whatsoever. So those are the people that we need to engage. If you want them in the stores, you want them to travel to concerts, you want to go to your venue, you want to go to events, properties, and activate. These people do not have concerns. So let's not paralyze yourselves by being worried about the people that have concerns. Let's focus our attention on people that don't have the concerns. Let's engage them and activate them in a relevant, compelling way. So key learning, focus attention on people ready to act and engage live brands, travel, and the world. It's for travel too. Like, yeah, 30% are going to delay. They're still going to travel, which means 70% are going to continue on their journey. Brands are doing themselves a big disservice looking at the glass half empty versus half full and growing. And the point there is half full and growing is absolutely essential. We need to educate what's going on. The fact is how many people are actually engaging, not how many people won't engage. Let's not lead by fear, let's lead by excitement. And there's a lot of people excited if you look at live events. Build campaigns and activation for people that are open and ready while being conscious of concerns. At this time in North America, UK, Australia, rising prices and inflation are capturing the hearts and minds of consumers, not COVID or the war. Not that they're not important, but inflation is the number one thing we should be concerned about when activating our brand. So a big question we've gotten every day is what's appropriate in the return to life? And the fact is people were not ready to answer that question for the past 18 months because there is such uncertainty. Even though there's uncertainty right now, I'm in Toronto, we're in wave 6. On the downside of wave 6, thankfully, wave 7 will probably come at some time. The point is we want to look at how you can activate. Can you activate and have concerts? Can you activate and have product reps? Can you even have samples? We looked at 30 different ways. So first thing is 6 in 10 people across US and Canada do not believe any of the previously used activation touch points are any appropriate at this time. Important 6 in 10, 60% keep doing what you're doing, but you still need to use common sense. And as we know, common sense is not that common, but you can't just flippantly put open food samples out. You just can't flippantly do a bunch of things that make a bunch of people uncomfortable. So be smart, just like you always are, but engage the 60%. It's essential to educate venues, properties, brands, and agencies on these facts. And again, it's the positive side of things. If we look at inappropriate this time, so again, remember, people are together. Let's focus on them. But 20% intercepting people on the street is 20%. The one thing I don't know is what was that in 2019? We never asked that question because it wasn't that important. Having representatives approach you, 18%. Inviting you to a tent, 17%. So you look down here to offering a live music area, 7 and 10%. It's the same in both countries. The fact is, very few people think it's inappropriate. Are you going to actually curtail your activation, curtail your brand's opportunity based on the 10 to 20% that don't want it? Or are you going to focus on, and they will be loud, or focus on the 80% that don't find it? So let's look at the glass half full. So people believe to be appropriate if done right at this time. Take the reciprocal of it, and it's between 80 and 90%. They're good with it. Doesn't mean they love it. If you're really compelling, they will. It'll be the same reaction, but you're not going to have, you're not going to have people angry at you if you're not too evasive to them. So the point is, there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of ways you can act. Let's not overthink this. Let's do things that are really well thought through and executed. If we also look at the free samples, the one thing, the open buffet. So still you can see it's over 20% that don't want open food samples. I'm not sure anyone wants to see hands, and they want, I mean, 2019 food safety was crucially important. If you look at the two reds, open food samples versus samples that are self-contained, almost no one thinks self-contained samples are inappropriate. Any service can actually demonstrate. We're talking about food products here. So product displays, everything, I mean, the fact is you can actually execute in the stores, on the streets, at venues. We're open, we're ready, do it right, and think it through. And the fact is it'll be very effective. So that's very, very good news for going forward. We spend a significant amount of time moving to the next step and thinking through, we need to be optimistic, but not falsely optimistic. How do you actually grow your brand? So we went out and did a significant amount of work to bring you live case studies from late April, May 2022, testing actual campaigns. We own the data because this is not our client work. This is our own work that we do through all our Pulse products. So what do brands want to do? They want to drive action towards a brand. They want people to buy or consider them. You're going to buy if you're a short-term category like a Coke or a McDonald's. You're going to have consideration if you're Tesla or Apple. You want people to feel better towards you, and you want people to amplify, talk, search, share, and add it. So there's 4 different dimensions we look at. So the question we ask is, which of the following would you do after seeing this, if any? I would not do any of these as the first statement. So it has no impact. Stop to learn more information, search for information online, talk about friends. I would buy, that's short-term for ST. I would consider buying as long-term for anything from Tide to Lexus. It's better than other companies' actions. I'd feel more positive. So there's multiple different dimensions. There used to be 39, we reduced it to 7. We show them a piece of stimulus. It's static stimulus. Why not 2-second, 5-second, 30-second where money's spent? Well, the fact is the average view time is 2 seconds. Look at the numbers, 2 to 6 seconds. That's how people engage and make a decision if they're going to continue or not. We have benchmarks by metric, long-term versus short-term categories. The benchmarks are different. It varies by countries, varies by language, and the case studies of 50,000 plus. So the guarantee is optimize the creative times the tactic. That's what this does. Then you also have to optimize your media monies in the moment you actually talk to people. I mean, talking about mental health in the evening is stronger than talking about mental health in the morning. One of the things is sleep. And the fact is time of day matters for what you're gonna do. If you're gonna do a take home dinner, it's better to talk to people at 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon than it is at 1 in the morning. The one thing you should look at is know before you go. Fact, 41% activations have no chance of impacting attitude, emotion, or behavior. This is based on 50,000 case studies. So we're going to go through this pretty quick. Brands of value, just some examples of Tesla, Starbucks, iPhone, Lipton. We're doing a bunch more, Bacardi, Airbnb, Häagen-Dazs, McDonald's, Red Bull, Ford. So here's some of the stimulus we looked at for Tesla, some of the stimulus for Starbucks, some of the stimulus for McDonald's, a bunch of different things. From you look at fries, you look at buy one, get one free, you see helping run a McDonald's house, new burgers, the Big Mac, taste from around the world, Coke, French fries, what's going on? The first thing is product's the hero to drive ROI. That's the fact. Product should be the hero. It's the same thing for 30 years. People forget that when they try and become too creative. Here's Dempster's. One of them will be 25% will purchase after exposure versus 19%. And the fact is, yes, it's made by Canada, which is important for Canada, and this was tested. 19% will buy, but showing the actual product with Dempster's increases 25%. It's a 6% increase, but it's a relative increase of 30% by making the product the hero. And here, Can's the hero and the truck's the hero, not the product. Let's go to the next one. You've got Baby Run with a picture of a kid, obviously with an iPhone, and then the iPhone 13 with actual product features. 10% will purchase after exposure. Remember, long-term category, tougher to get drive purchase versus 4%. Not surprising, product hero drives significant purchase intent. Not when we overthink things. 2 major products that are featured and have been heritage of McDonald's as their French fries and obviously serving Coca-Cola. Huge purchase rate just by showing that product hero. The fact is, don't forget the product hero and what you're trying to do each time. Lead with product heroes through each touch point is critical. So to drive engagement, consideration, revenue, ensure the product service is always the hero. Make sure you don't put stuff out that doesn't reinforce product. Don't put creative out, don't put video, don't put YouTube out. Don't wait till the last second to talk about your product like it's a mistake. Actually be proud of the product, talk about what's going on, or talk about the service of what's going on. That's the first best practice. That hasn't changed for 20 plus years or the 30 years I've been here. Product is the hero, accelerate impact with communicating product benefits. So you have the product hero, and then you can communicate product benefits. So here we've got November 30th, every order of fries you buy will help families with sick children in your community with the fries. Fries for good versus fries. We already knew fries really drove purchase. I believe it was 28%. They both are 28%. So you can do great by doing good. You can drive purchase by doing good. So the other thing, why they'd have Ronald McDonald House Charities is percent that feel better or more positive after exposure. The fries on their own drives 12%, but the one that actually ties in the community drives 25%. So not only does it buy purchasing, but also drives image, and that's a very powerful communication. So that's not a surprise to some people. Look at here, we've got face editing removes blemishes, freckles, and confidence. The fact is, a great message versus the product hero, reusable, very simple, easy to consume. 24% will buy because of this, 8% will buy because of this. We looked at favorability and impact on positive. It's the same thing. The right-hand side is much stronger than the left-hand side. I'm not trying to trash anything that Dove does. They do a great, fantastic job. But if you want to drive ROI, focus a lot more attention on the product. And you don't see the product here. You see, let's change beauty. With the product, it might actually change it better. If we look here, we've got gas. Where we're going will not need gas. Remember, today, gas price is the biggest barrier. Over here, lowest drag coefficient of any product. What percent of the population even understand what that means or is a key driver? 11% will consider purchasing because they don't have to buy gas, which is now $2 a liter. 4% over here because of the low drag coefficient. So both spend a lot of time and money producing it. What actually works? How about this one? Privacy, that's iPhone, or what happens when your iPhone stays in your iPhone. A key product benefit. So who will stop to learn more, search out more information, or talk about with friends? 13 plus, a phenomenal number. It's a product benefit. Both show the product, both show the benefits. There's power with both of them. So your brand can accelerate impact with a compelling product benefit. Now, here's the key. One, not many. Because once you say one, is two better, is three better, is four better, we'll show you probably not. So product's the hero, but too many products may decelerate great creative. And people like to use one piece of creative to communicate many things. Well, unfortunately, it may not be possible. So here's two spots, 3 ice creams, 1 new, versus just taking this one ice cream and seeing what actually happens. 2 groups of people, 300 looked at each. What's actually going to happen? Well, stronger buy rate showing one specific thing people can make a decision of, I like it or don't, versus the 21% that go, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to look at. And they end up not impacting purchase. So we got to look at more is not better in communication. Dempster's 1 versus 3. The fact, again, 25 versus 20. It's close, but it's still 20% higher on the left-hand side with a single-minded focus. So consider that. Doesn't mean not do the right-hand side of your website, but the fact is how much should be on a page to drive it and what's the hierarchy of messaging. So in the majority of cases, less is more. Clarity and ease of engagement does drive impact. Clarity and ease of engagement. How little time do I need to spend to get the compelling message? That's what you got to look at. And you don't have 15 seconds. Message and visual cues must be compelling and impactful to accelerate impact. Each word matters, each visual cue matters, each color matters, each size matters. If you truncate something, it matters. And we'll talk a lot more about that later in future sessions, but the fact is we don't have time right now, but let's go through a few. Product hero on the right-hand side, but there's a lot of heroes in there. Left-hand side, love your heart and the product. There's a lot of other words around you can't see. But the difference between buy is 29 versus 11%. Massive difference. Love your heart, obviously compelling message, plus a product hero. Both On the left-hand side, the message and the product is much stronger than the right-hand side, where you have a lot of other cues that don't help whatsoever. Over here, you've got inspiration from Central America for Dove, with Dove down here versus Dove products. And guess what? 19% versus 5% on the left. The fact is, that is really innovative. But what does it really do for your brand? How much money should you spend against that? And how much money did you lose spending on this concept one versus concept two? Here you've got Wonder Woman back. You got a single product focus, but this visual cue takes away from the product. This don't hold back takes away from the product versus something we've already seen. This is percent that will take 1+ action: buy, share, talk, feel better about search. And the fact is 48% here versus 25%. Massive difference, double the impact. How much money they spent on that? Have no idea. What's the incremental value? You should know before you buy that asset. You look at the left-hand side, we've got the concept or the product concept deconstructed, plus introducing the new dual vanilla connection, explore it. What happens? What's the incremental value of that message? Does it drive it? Because you've got the product benefit, you've got 4 messages here, plus you got a lot of words here. This may be enough, is it? Yeah, 47 1+ actions versus 30. Adding this creative, this messaging, this extra content reduces the impact on purchasing, on sharing, on feeling better and more positive. There's a constant factor, again, for decades, where more is actually less and less is more. This one here is Bacardi donates 1 million to the Ukraine, family-owned business, 1 million, same product shot, product's the hero in both. They've added a message. 14% feel better here, 24% better or more positive here. So the fact is, they created a great factor by being relevant in the time, and they actually did something positive while maintaining the product hero status. So the fact is, they added a message that actually drove incremental value. Here we've got McDonald's French fries, sort of. So they've taken the product. That is not a product hero shot, by the way, because you've actually changed the product. We hopefully will remember something from Coke Classic when they changed the master product and how that went. 28% will buy this, 17% will buy this. What is it they're trying to do? They're celebrating 16 golden years, which is written down here. You can't even see it. So if it's a sub message, why change a product that works to celebrate 60 years when you're not even celebrating 60 years because it's in 8-point font? Look at this. We got fries and fries. Both are compelling. 28% will buy, 22% will buy. The fact is, avoid hands with food pictures during COVID. We're still in the COVID mindset. We're saying to get on with it, but it doesn't make sense to have people eating in something that might not be compelling. The buy rate's still great, but it does drop from 28 to 22%, which is about 25% drop relatively. If you look at the left-hand side, stop counting miles per gallon. We know gas prices are huge versus don't blink, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds with a picture of sort of a car. 29% will talk, stop, and search for more information on this one, 11% on this one. And the point there is product plus benefit. Over here, you got benefit without the product. So the fact is, it was clever to say you can't see it. They actually inhibited by overthinking and not making the brand clear. We believe that just showing a picture of the car with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds would be much more compelling because you have product plus benefit. So every key message is crucial to driving impact. Doing it right is the difference between ROI plus share steal versus failure. Over 60% of messaging and 50% of visual cues are ineffective. And this is through thousands of tests. They have no impact. They actually will hurt you, not help you. So as much thought has to go into the messaging and visual cues if you're going to add as does where the product sits and how it sits. Last one is product hero and compelling messaging. Visual cues can reduce the need for price. Now, price is not a strategy, but it's got to be part of a strategy. When inflation, interest rates, rising prices go up, there is a set of people that are going to go towards price. We plead with you not to become price dependent because the longevity of the brand will be at peril. So here we've got buy one, get one for $1. That's a phenomenal deal versus there's a Big Mac and make the product the hero. So price, a significant price discount. This is 34%, this is 30%. You look at the ROI of that, it's not even close. Product hero will way outpay the buck. The fact is, price has to be used. Yes, it has to be $1, could be $2, could be $3. How does price fit in? What if you put price over here with a great product shot? Again, great product heroes can help minimize the need for endless temporary price reductions and discounts. $500, get up to $500 for an in-store trade-in versus the product and the product features. 10% consider, which is great for long-term category, 13%. Yes, your incremental gain of 30%, but what's the cost? What's the ROI for that? Whether it's a vendor or manufacturer rebate, the product can do almost as much. So we're just trying to get away. How about the buy one, get one for $1 percent that will buy versus fries and some donations to help families? 34% will buy, 28% will buy. The impact is greater on the right-hand side. You're building a brand. On the left-hand side, you're giving it away. The point there is you need to use price sometimes, but you can use effective marketing to reduce the need for always being on special. In the next 2 years, we believe there's going to be much more need or much more pressure to be price sensitive. So great product hero with compelling message can minimize the need for endless price reductions. So the fifth point and last point is giving your product service away or deep discounting may drive sales, but destroy profit and ROI, create expectations among consumers, and potentially erode the brand. You look at Bay Days when every Tuesday people would stop shopping. This is 20 years ago. For those on the phone, you might not remember it. But the fact is, every Tuesday give a discount. People waited to Tuesday to shop and would shop at no other time. Carefully formulate product hero plus optimal visual cue and messaging can reduce, not eliminate, the use of price and TPR. That is crucial. It's hard work. Getting the visual cues right, getting the messages right with the product heroes. Shouldn't be tough to get the product heroes right. You do it once, you know what's going on. You can change it around a bit, but you don't want to change your French fries. You want to change the look of things. But there is an opportunity. So there's 5 best practices. These are all consistent for the past 20 years. Nothing has changed. We're going to go way deeper into this over the next sessions. We talk about to actually go and show the power of brand and how you can actually use it to drive and engage long term. So Vanessa, welcome you back.
Hey, Don, nice to see you. Thank you so much for going through that. I think the thing that really resonated with me that I loved to hear from you is that, while people are being careful with their money because they're a little bit shy, and this is obviously generally speaking, there's less fear. So we have to focus on doing, and we have to focus on those people that do want to get out and do some great things. So that's something that really resonated, and need for clarity too in your messaging came through very clearly in the presentation today, which I appreciated.
That's great. And I think the biggest thing is we need to focus on those who want to, not those who don't. And we got to remember 1980, 1990, 2000, 2019, 20 to 30% would do nothing. Didn't matter what you did, they would never act. So 20% was always gone. They were never receptive to anything. So that's a fact of life. That's a fact of humanity. And the fact here is we need to focus on the opportunities, and there's tons in front of us that we can focus on within the category.
Yeah, can't always focus on the squeaky wheel. They're not the ones who get the job done.
Yeah, 100%.
So before we go into the Q&A, just a little bit about the power of brand that we're going to have coming up on June 9th. And this is where Don sort of started to look at, the how to properly affect your brand to drive your ROI and grow. But we're going to be going deeper into this on June 9th to really show you and prove out the value of brand and strong brands, especially as you go through turbulent times. And there's always going to be turbulent times in life all around us, and how strong brands really thrive through that. So we'll show you some proof points on that to help you make decisions and drive your brand forward. But we do have some questions that came through, Don. One is actually, it's about the saying and doing. And we talk about this a lot. There's the sayers and there's the doers. And so there is an individual that, they're planning community events, and they're saying, we know that there's pent up demand and people want to get out, but is saying and doing different because they're not seeing the uptick that they've seen in the past, even in their virtual events. So are people just being more choiceful about where they're going?
Well, you're gonna have to give them a reason to get out of their house. People want to go see their friends. It's the biggest thing they want to do. They want to go see their family. They want to experience life. But if you want them to come to an event, you better be relevant and compelling and better than other options. So it's going to get people there. You're gonna have to show them the benefit. You can't just assume because I was there in 2019 that they're gonna remember everything. They don't remember, like, if you look at George Floyd, it was a big issue for 6 weeks. Not saying it's not a massive issue. The Ukrainian war dropped off. It's in the news every single day. Your brand, if you're a community event, you probably haven't been live for 2 years. What have you done in the last 2 years to engage your current customers, the ones that were there? Have you had an ongoing forum with them? Have you told them the benefits? Have you reinforced the benefits? How about your lapsed customers? How about get together other community events that aren't at the same time? Are you working with them to do it? What have you done new, different, and relevant, compelling, and better than competition to invite them out, to get them? Why are they coming? Why are they going to spend their time? It is going to be harder to get people back, but people are doing things. You see 5,000 people in a square side by side at a hockey game, and it could be raining. So there's a group of people that went there. How are we, like, you can sit back and go, well, people aren't ready. They are ready. I would suggest that we were probably dormant for too long, and we need to actually overinvest time and energy, maybe not money, to tactfully get back. We'd be happy, Steve, to help you on that, to give you some ideas, to counsel you to go, what's going to go on. And I also see they want to do 10 things. What they actually are doing are maybe 2 out of 10 things. Does the data support this? Yeah, they're not doing as much. They want to do it. They need to be invited, just like anything else. They're doing a lot of different things. If you look at recreational product sales, through the roof. Like, there are people out there doing skiing, they're doing golfing. You can't get a golf membership. The fact is, they're doing a lot of things. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, not to be patronizing, and go, what have I done to invite them back? What am I going to do? Who can I now partner with in my community to bring them back? And that's one of the biggest opportunities for any community event, to actually work with others in their community to actually move forward together, because then it brings everyone back.
Yeah, and how can you make it compelling for them? Because if it's not compelling, like you said, it's harder to get people out right now, even though they want to. It's harder to get people out because new habits have formed.
And you also remember, when you communicate with them, you have 5 seconds. So if you think it's a long form memo about you, you better make it about what's in it for me, what are you asking me to do, and why should I go? Answer those questions in 5 seconds, or they're going to forget about you, because they're inundated with 50 emails on TikTok, or 50 things on TikTok, plus the Ukrainian war, plus inflation, plus gas prices, plus their friends and family. You're not that relevant, unfortunately.
So there's a question about brand. So how does a brand not become price focused? And I know that you love talking about brands focused on price, with customers requiring deep discounts to get even into flyers, without you don't get the support of the trade. So,
Right.
So how do you balance that?
Well, the fact is, that's the direct to consumer is obviously why a lot of beer can't go that way, as they do some of it. But the fact is, they hold the cards, they'll bully you around. You need to do as little as possible, you need to add as much value as possible. I would strongly recommend getting into promotions, and having great sales information to go how compelling they are with lower prices. So you might need to use promotions. But the fact is, if it's their pound of flesh and it's the money they want out of you, whether they make you buy their digital advertising or go on flyers or go on feature, that's part of doing business. To do it too often is not the point. The point is, what can I do when I'm not on price to actually drive it forward? How do I use other avenues, like you saw with McDonald's, with Ronald McDonald's House, or you saw other factors to build outside? How are you actually engaging your current customers so they are going to be more resilient? You don't see Starbucks going on sale, but they have no intermediate. They're direct to consumer. You don't see Tesla going on sale. You don't see Apple iPhone going on sale, but all the grocery stores and the independent liquor stores will make you go on sale, and that's a negotiation price. Obviously, if Loblaws got rid of Frito-Lay for a while till they all got together, I mean, they'll get rid of anyone, because it's who's got the most power. So, Mark, unfortunately, you're in a situation where price will have to be there. It's how little price we need to use, and how can combat it with other factors to mitigate the need.
Yeah, can you go, Mark also was asking, can you explain the 6 to 8 week reco for campaigns just a little bit deeper? Can you talk about that a little bit more?
So we do a longitudinal study from week -2. Every week we go out and see what's actually the awareness, consideration, touch point, impact, purchase, consideration of purchase, recommendation, a whole laundry list each week. And we see what the incremental values of people reach by medium. So we deconstruct medium. And the point is, the point of diminishing return is actually 5 weeks. Sometimes it gets to 6, rarely gets to 8. And I want to get, and that's on mass. On digital, it's even a shorter time period. And I won't get into ad fraud right now and all the other factors that are heinous and not discussed and hidden. But when you have $100 billion in digital ad fraud estimated for 2023, that's a significant issue that I bet maybe 2 people on the line right now have actually had a conversation with their agency about, or their agency brought it to them. And if you're an agency who's recommending it, they should talk about it. So 6 to 8 weeks, they're done it. So if you just, that's why I showed you the Ukraine, it lasts for 6 weeks. George Floyd, 6 weeks. How does your brand last for longer? I actually have Tesla launches, iPhone launches. We got a bunch more work that Vanessa will share on June 9th that will actually show you brand launch and how long they last. And the fact is, if it's not in the consumer mindset and it wanes off, it drops.
So we have one more, and we're a little bit over time, but if we can sneak this one in, I think it'd be much appreciated. You showed products versus services in FI insurance. How would you suggest serving content about ESG/purpose if not related to a specific product? Well,
if in the case there, if you're a master brand, the fact is your master brand's got to be very strong, and you have to identify. It may not be any of those products would help, but ESG and purpose depends what the message is, because ESG means so many different things, as does CSR, as does purpose. So first off, you better use words that people understand and you can communicate and understand in 2 to 3 seconds. More is not better. ESG is way too macro, and your brand has to be super strong, or your service has to be super strong, or you're going to have to identify the sub brands of bank and insurance at that same time. And I would test it personally with and without Manulife or whomever, with insurance and FI or not. So RBC, whoever it may be, the fact is, what are the impacts? What's the incremental value of actually showing the product you're talking about or the product you're knowing about? But the key for ESG, purpose, CSR, any charity is, what are the words that resonate? Remembering 60% of words fail, 50% of visual cues fail. So you better get them right, because if it's too much or the wrong message, it's not going to impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And testing out the halo effect will definitely help drive your decisions forward as well, and how granular you need to get into the specific products with those messages. Okay, great. Well, listen, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. If you have any questions after this, please feel free to reach out to Dawn, myself, or anybody at IMI. We're always happy to help. And we hope you join us on June 9th, and for all of our subsequent global growth wave presentations as well. Have a really great day.
Thanks, everyone.